Hi, and welcome back to the Safety Spark podcast. So today I'm gathered with Carl. He's our lead fire risk assessor. And today we'll be talking all things in the new industry and different things that we've come across day to day.
So hi, my name's Carl. Obviously I'm working for Crusader Fire. I'm the lead FRA, fire risk assessor for the company. Yes, and it's just something that's been something that I've wanted to get into. It's fascinating, and it opens up so many opportunities for the business.
So how has the fire industry changed today? What have you seen since like last few months? How much you've seen it's changed?
Well, I've found is a lot of the businesses and commercial properties and holiday lets, people are more aware now of what's needed in regards to fire risk assessments, what's needed in regards to certification and things like that. So I'm finding that people are more aware now, whereas initially it was a bit more it was a choice, do they need to do this? But it is something, an aspect to make that business safe and to make the employees safe.
That's that thing though, isn't it? Like where like when you have a holiday let, nobody tells you to though. So it's like you think like, oh, I'll just do this, and then if they have a bigger company, like I don't know, one of the big companies up north, if they know you, oh, you need to get a risk assessment done, you need to get this done. But otherwise, people are just sort of floating along, aren't they? If they manage it themselves, they've got no idea.
No, and that's the thing. And I think people becoming more aware of it can only be a good thing. Be it a holiday let, be it a HMO, be it a commercial property, you're finding that people, it's just that awareness and making people aware. And that's something that we can do. We can offer people when we're going around and communicating with owners and property owners, something that can be done and something that's processed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what I find as well, like a lot more people are getting accredited in these sort of schemes as well, because obviously your accreditation shows what you've gone through to get the regular accreditation and stuff, what courses you've been on or things you've gone through. But I'm seeing it more and more now where they're saying, no, you need this accreditation. And I think every service that we provide, eventually there's going to be a accreditation you've got to have. Which, I mean, it's good for it's good for the industry really, but it's it'll sort of get us away from a lot of like the dodgy people out there. You know yourself, you've seen a few people where they just turn up, they'll say everything's good or bad, and then they'll be putting either a bill in, or they'll just be beating us for price because they don't have any of the qualifications.
And that accreditation, what it's going to do in the industry as a whole, and obviously we make sure that we're up to date with accreditation by CPD courses every year and just refreshing us. It's just going to keep everything consistent throughout the industry. And just at the end of the day, it's about just making people safe. And if you've got accreditation going throughout the industry, then people are going to be doing their practices the proper way for people to be safer. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all for the goodness of everyone else, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You wear more badges, don't we, with all the accreditations. It's around everywhere.
Big logos and
stick it everywhere.
Like
only to get
multi-colored.
It's more badge, isn't it? Here we go, this is what we do. It's like a flashcard whenever we get into a job. Do you know that we do this, this, and this, and this? We've always had these accreditations. Yeah. I suppose at least on like more of our company culture. So what we're here for, what we want to do, and like we want to be the best in the industry at everything. I want other companies to look at us and go, oh, they do this better than everyone else. You know, I think maybe accreditations is more of a way through there as well. If we can have every accreditation under the sun, sort of more set an example in the industry as well, aren't we?
And it gives the customers something more to look at as well, to make that judgment call of they're going to go with us compared to going with someone else. As much as a Google review, if you have 100 Google reviews and someone has 10, you're obviously going to go with the majority one because they've had more custom and more feedback.
It's trust as well.
Yeah. And that's what the culture's all about. It's just promoting ourselves. And as you've discussed before, our culture is the person first, the employee first, and what they can bring as a person to the culture of the company.
So I think if you build up the people within the company, what they can deliver outside the company is astronomical. You've focused on what's in your control to then what everyone else can do.
You're rewarding the person for who they are. And if they're bringing skills extra to that, then that's an absolute bonus. And that's what you're working with, which is how I feel Crusader works.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think like the more accreditations get, the more people we can get, the more we can expand throughout the whole of the country, really. So the future could be, well, will be the whole country, but delivering the same model better than all the other national companies out there.
Yeah. So I think it's just like I say, just being consistent with what we represent as a company and what sort of mindset and what culture, and then transitioning that to any future plans what Crusader's got in the expansion down the country nationwide, and how we're going to incorporate that culture from the beginnings, the foundation, to somewhere new.
Yeah.
Like a new base. But having them people then following and getting into the same culture as where it all began.
It's molding future Crusaders, isn't it?
Yes, that's what it's about.
Like, yeah, getting them on that horse. Well, getting them riding in the ball. Look
at the history, the Crusader, they all battled the same, they all trained the same. They had that culture where they had everyone's backs. So it's a similar thing.
Yeah.
Much similar. It's just that we don't ride horses, we drive vans.
Yeah. With horses on, though.
With horses on.
Yeah, it's close. Yeah, it's very similar.
No, but it's all good stuff, and I think it has to be something that's appealing for people wanting to come to the company or join the company as well. Because the last thing you want to do is just have this mindset where you must get this job done, you must work this way, you must do. But if you have a welcoming way on, you're going to attract the people that you need to attract to the business.
Yeah. So I feel like we, as a company, want all the work done, but we just want everyone else to everyone just to chip in and work together as a team. And there's no one person to finish first. It's the whole company.
Yeah.
Finishes first, isn't it? So.
And I think the culture, going back to the culture a bit now, but it ties in with future plans. I think the support network in the company is fantastic. And I think any company would love that culture of being able to ring your colleague up and have that person to say, oh, do this, do that. It's a fantastic thing. And I think for the future's bright if we just keep it going, keep that consistency.
Yeah, get bigger, better. Just to get everyone, the more the company does bigger and better, the more obviously customers are going to sort of bonus, really.
Because you become noticeable.
Yeah. Yeah.
The bigger you become, the more impact you're going to make. When you're this little, and everyone starts as a little nucleus in the beginning.
Oh God,
yeah, scientific. I'm going to talk about atoms and all sorts. No, if you have that nucleus, then and as it explodes, you're going to be noticed.
Yeah.
And to keep that noticeability going, and to keep it going, you need to back it up. And how we do it is by the culture.
But it's also with the obviously the nights out, they were trying on what days every 3 months where we'll go playing ball on a go-kart or something. But I feel like the bigger it gets, we have to go make these days bigger, really, aren't we?
Yeah. It's going to have to hire a day.
Yes, it's got to be trips away. It's going to have to be it's after renting hotels out and things now, isn't it? Rather than just rooms.
But yeah, we'll joke about it, but it could be it's something possible
within the next few years, isn't it?
Yes.
Easy. Yeah. Easy.
But again, it's just that comfortability. Like I remember my first works do or night out, you felt comfortable in it.
Yeah.
And you've only been there, 2-3 months.
But there's always the pictures the next day to prove
there's always
what you say, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's on down there. Yeah, so we had this problem not so long ago where every time we were quoting for a job, we were getting undercut, and it was what we're getting undercut from. So I used to go to these sites and I'd say, what's happening? And it would be that there'd be a local electrician who would be like, oh, I can put a fire alarm in. He's not BAFE accredited, he doesn't know the FAA 39.1, but he would just install it where he thought was right. So then we would go in and go, well, it's wrong, you need to get it done again. So these people would end up paying twice or 3 times. But I feel like it's still a problem again and again, because I feel like with the smaller buildings, people go shop around for price rather than the quality or the experience.
Yes.
So, and then obviously you buy shite, you pay twice, don't you?
Yeah, good see it.
Yeah, that's true. I think I made that.
Shakespeare.
Well, all right. Me, Churchill, or Shakespeare. I've never seen that.
Yeah, Churchill might use that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes people are just driven by price, aren't they? Sometimes, and it's unfortunate because, like you say, they could be paying twice for a job that shouldn't be the case.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed more and more on a lot of my jobs that I've been doing, the risk assessments, that a lot of people, it has been a lot more driven by electricians doing the job. But then, like you say, you're having to recommend something extra. And that's nothing to say that the electrician wasn't capable of doing that. It's just that it only goes so far.
Yeah.
The install goes so far. And then it's on the wall, and that's it, job done. But there's a lot of implications, there's a lot of things tie in extra to that. That makes that, obviously, again, we're going back to the safety of a building. It makes the building safe.
Yeah.
And I think this is what people, and again, we're driven by cost, and especially nowadays and things like that. But I think it is just taking the time to just weigh things up a little bit and just saying, you know, it's worth that extra to get the professionals, in a sense, the people who know the deeper aspect of what them people are requiring.
But these are the same people that go like, oh, obviously I don't know anything about fire. I'm going to ring company up. So they ring a fire company up to get this quote, and then they go with someone that then doesn't know.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's very strange because you think like you've rang the professionals to get the job done, and then you've gone with Billy down the road who just pulls his tables in and looks and then you've got to, if you get an inspection or anything, you've got to then go back and get everything done properly. So it just seems like false economy, really. And I mean, the bigger jobs you get, you actually never get that problem because they know you can't cut the corners. It's only really for the smaller ones.
That's it.
That like it'll be HMOs and things like that.
I think, again, it comes back to what we were initially talking about at the beginning of the podcast. People's awareness. And I feel that there is a change in people's awareness now, where they would have just gone with that as the first option. But now there's a lot more implications, and they're weighing up a lot more now to make a more measured choice.
Yeah, well, it's like from Grenfell, really, isn't it? Obviously, after that, they're horrific with all the people. It just, now it's, people are tightening up, saying, "Oh, you need to get this." No one's. Also, what I found as well, no one's letting. Back in the day, you'd go, "Yeah, I assume that wall is made of this." Where now it's like, we can't assume. It doesn't. It's not that criteria. We need a third party to certify that. Which now it's now everything, really. As soon as you open a building site, you need a third party accreditation for that. You need a third party. So, I mean, obviously making buildings safer, but it's then you go and need 4 or 5 people to certify a building, don't you?
And I think it's people just being aware how far down the rabbit hole they can go with some of these jobs and some of these recommendations. But again, it's how far are you prepared to go? And this, like you've just mentioned, Grenfell, I don't think there's any margin for error now.
No.
For businesses and any HMO or holiday let for that reason. I know significantly smaller, but they're still operating to the point where the public or people are coming into them buildings, and they need to be as safe as houses, pardon the pun.
Yeah.
Good one.
Right. Yeah, nice one. Yeah. No, I feel like, but it's the same as like when you get some risk assessors give you a cheap risk assessment, and they'll just say everything's damaged, everything's broken, they need everything new, because they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They just say, and then they say, "Oh, here you go, here's your list." And then I feel like that gives any risk assessor a bad name, really, because what we do at our company is we say everything you can possibly do. We give you got option 1, option 2, option 3. If you don't do that, there's other ways around things. So there's never really, this is this and you need to do it. It's what can we do to mitigate the risk? What can you do within budget? Where do you want to go for this? Can you reduce people? Can you change management structure? Can you do anything so you don't have to spend money? Because we hate the thought of just, oh, here you go, here's a massive invoice, just
because
done.
They're trusting us to give them a recommendation or an action, And you've used the key word, and the amount of times I've used this word probably the last few months is the mitigation. There's always some way you can mitigate a risk, always, because not everyone can put a hole through a wall to create a fire exit. Not everyone. It just sometimes it's not feasible.
Yeah.
Cost,
Plan permission.
yeah, planning permission and layout and things like that. So we're not there. Like you say, some people could go in as a risk assessor and like a bull in a china shop and just say, that's wrong, this is wrong, and things like that. But you're working with the customer at the end of the day. And anyway, and if you work with that customer, they're going to remember that, and then future jobs are going to come about. And that's it just works on a circle aspect.
Yeah, that's true. So what have you seen with like, you seen much of the lithium batteries fires? You seen a report, or you seen more things?
No, but what I have found a little bit more on some of the risk assessments is the introduction of e-bikes coming into properties and things like that. And it's just, again, I think people are becoming more aware of lithium batteries and things like that, and the danger that they can cause, and we've seen on the news where like a bike explodes and that's the whole house gone.
Yeah.
And this can happen. But I think people might look at it in the point of view of, but that's rare, or it's mainly when the battery's damaged.
It won't happen to me.
Yeah, it won't happen to me, yeah. But I've seen the bikes a lot more coming into establishments and into buildings. And at the end of the day, you're introducing a risk that doesn't need to be introduced into that building. So why take the risk? It's that thing of, let's just cancel the risk. If you're going to need your bike, people using it as transport, then have a secure unit outside, or have a way of securely storing the battery. It's just awareness again, I think.
Yeah.
Have you found anything like that?
Yeah, well, what I found is like, it's been, where it came up, it was like, we've created these extinguishers, which now put out lithium fires. And then it was more a thing of like, we would recommend people took them. And people are like, oh, no. And there must be a new criteria in insurer now, where every time we're recommending, people are going, we need way more on them. Because I think insurance are now going, well, hold on, we've had this many fires. And you're telling me you can put an extinguisher there, which is going to, if they can put it out straight away, for a fraction of the price it's going to cost to rebuild it. So obviously we're seeing more of that. But then we're also seeing, it's like the suppression systems for sort of lithium battery packs as well. Sort of like lots more of that, because I think insurance is saying, well, what can we do to lower this risk? Because obviously the fires they're only going, there's more and more lithium fires, because obviously it's a new product that's come in. But yeah, so that's what we found.
I think as well that people look, like say like the aspect of lithium batteries, people just look at the lithium battery as the battery and what it causes. I think sometimes you can overlook the fact of an insurance company, if they see that you're putting procedures in place or protocols in place, that you could significantly reduce the costs to your insurance company, your premiums and things like that. But I don't think that aspect comes into play too much. It's just that initial thought of a battery's in my building, but do I really have to do that many things to, again, take that risk down and reduce the risk? Luckily, I haven't seen anything like come of it. I've heard stories, and we just need to be aware that these things can be quite lethal when they're...
Well, it's that thing, isn't it? Like, nothing happens until something severe happens.
Exactly.
Seems to be the way, isn't it? Like, oh, we know this is a risk, right? Yeah, there's more fires. Like, people have probably been harmed and damage caused, but as soon as something significant happens, then there'll be a law, and they'll go, right, yep, now we need them in everywhere. Scotland's normally the first to roll them out. They're normally UK.
We should have some patience, or like some higher threshold.
Yeah, I think it's a higher threshold.
Yeah, that's what it is.
We're just so hard as nails, is what it is, aren't we? We're just ready for ball pain or whatever it is, I suppose.
I remember a gentleman telling the story, and it was to do with lithium batteries, and he had a friend who owned a company that drained the batteries, lithium battery, and it was mainly mobile phones they dealt with. And they received a batch of 10 mobile phones they drain the batteries, and these guys have done this for years, but it just shows you. And then they put in a secure unit. So they're well aware that something still could happen, put them in the secure unit. And this is, say, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks went by, and that whole unit burned down. And it was one of them initial batteries from the initial batch of mobile phones they'd got. It reacted, and that and went with everything else in that building. So it's just been not underestimating them.
Well, it's like when I thought when we were looking into getting the new extinguisher to put out these lithium batteries, I spoke to a supplier and I said, "Oh, what's the mechanism?" And they were saying, "Well, the fire brigade was saying that if a battery catches fire, it's got to be submerged in a big tub of water for at least 2 weeks before they see that that's safe." And then you got these new extinguishers come out, which form like a gel, which basically coats. Yeah, just sits there. And then again, they say you should leave them for a few weeks. But it just shows like the power of the lithium. But to put it in perspective, it's like you can have a lithium. Like people say, "Oh, throw water on a fire and put it out." Obviously, we've touched on that before. That's not the case. But if you submerge it, it can still burn. They're a very, very hot, extremely hot fire.
And it's also that thing of lithium batteries are in a lot of portable devices.
They're in everything.
And we're bringing them in.
Yeah, they're in your pockets. They're in
the thermal reaction in your pocket's the last thing you want to have.
Oh God, yeah.
And then sitting in a bucket of water for 2 weeks. But apart from
fine in hot tub then.
bubbling away.
Bubbling away.
But yeah, it's just we can't underestimate them.
Yeah.
Put it that way. And I think they'll become more and more. Vapes have got a type in them.
Well, look how many car fires there is now.
I know.
It's crazy.
And
you see them, the fire brigade are closing off roads, trying to put them out, and you just got to let them burn and submerge them with water for weeks.
I mean, as technology goes on, they'll overcome it probably. But in this aspect right now, I think there's a lot of things that we can use to cancel out the risk.
Yeah. I think that's what you've got to do. I think that's the biggest topic at the moment, really, isn't it? The lithium batteries. But we try and get all of our guys trained to do everything. So then we are sort of lowering the time on the job. We're lowering the inconvenience for the customer as well. But like, I don't know if this is like an industry thing or if it's just us, but we want to try and get every one of our guys certified in fire alarms, risk assessments, emergency lights, just so they can do more. Because obviously, if we're on site and we can give as much advice to the customer as possible, then they're going to go, "Oh, I feel like I've asked for this, I've got it, it's done. I can put that to bed." And knowing that if they ever need to ring us, they can ring any one of our guys and we can go, "Oh, well, you don't need that. You need this." Or maybe you need one more, you need one less. That's what we try and do, because we're trying to expand our knowledge, aren't we?
And I think knowledge is key, isn't it? I think as a company, as we expand, we're going to need more people with them key skills. And if everyone's got like a foundation of the skill, then it can only be a benefit to the company and to current and new customers. And I think that it's a great way to have it. Universal.
Yeah.
Everyone has a little bit of a skill in somewhere. I mean, there'll be someone who you can still ring up, a colleague that you can ring up and say, "Oh, how do you do this? How do you do that?" And they'll be like, "Oh, bish, bash, bosh."
Yeah.
Well, a bit more detailed than that.
Take it off and on again.
Yeah. That's it.
You do it.
Or like the funds.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it helps. It's a massive. It's all about that consistency again, and that's what we need to have, and that's what we promote: consistency. So, like you say, you could ring one person up, but you might still get the same answer from another. It's just some people might just be able to give you a bit more detail, but then basics, foundations will be in place. Yeah.
So you found like much, like if you've gone to places where they've had a fire, or you've heard about having a fire and you've seen what impact that's had on like commercial premises, things like that?
Yeah, I was at one a couple of months ago, and someone had actually tried to start the fire at the side of the building, and the staff had come out and used every extinguisher possible on the fire. But the fire brigades did say that they had stopped the possible burning of the building. Obviously, arson was discussed and things like that. And then the following day, someone had actually tried to break through the front door of the building as well. So someone was intent. And I find that when I've been doing like the, say, fire warden training or anything like that, people are quite surprised and relatively took back by when you say that arson's the biggest reason for fires in especially commercial buildings.
Yeah.
But we're seeing it in domestic buildings, like in revenge wares and things like that. But people are very surprised when, and they're like, arson. Like they'll always think it's just going to be a fire that started in
a kitchen.
In a kitchen.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But it goes back to that thing where you're probably aware of a fire in your kitchen, where you're never going to be aware of arson, are you?
No, not at all.
Something that comes through the letterbox or
something from a letter.
Harry Potter or something. That's on fire.
I'll be an owl.
Oh yeah. An owl can be a box on fire. Oh my god.
Sorry, owl.
What extinguisher you used to put that out?
Yeah. Well, who gives a hoot? But you're right. People are more. I think, like I say, I'm just took back by when they say, "Oh, that is a thing," and it is. But even more so now, and I think because of since COVID and things like that, financially, business have like started coming back, but some have struggled, and then you hear of like a building suddenly burning down and stuff like that. It's something that we need to be aware of. Like, I make an emphasis of it all the time in the risk assessments to just, especially in a big commercial unit. I know any size property can be affected, but especially the bigger ones, and that's where it comes in. It's beneficial for them to have fire wardens to do the daily checks, the weekly checks, going around the perimeter of the building and things like that. And the thing with arson is it might not happen all in one go. Someone could be chipping away at a fence, literally, to get into the property, but that might take weeks. It might, but they're that intent, but it's just making sure that we notice these things. But it's something that I think may be on the increase a little bit more. It's just being aware of the signs, I think, and that's what it's about. Have you had any?
We've had it where it's like skips and stuff. So people don't realize how far away from the building you're supposed to have your skip. You think, oh well, I'll just have it outside. If I put it in my drive, people aren't gonna come back and put rubbish in.
Yeah.
But realistically, then you're endangering your house, because if you have it in your drive, everyone will just throw stuff in there anyway. And then hot works, anything there, most of the stuff you put in the skip's going to be cardboard, wood and stuff, unless it's brick and things. And then that can spread with that to life. That's just spread straight to your house. Even worse if you've got open windows.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, but people don't think that. And also the skip drivers often, they'll just drop it off and they won't tell you. They'll be like, oh, by the way, this could be a risk. They'll just stick it on there and there you go. All right, sound.
I don't think people, a factory I was in a couple of months ago as well, they'd just had a skip fire. That wasn't arson, but that was materials being mixed in the skip that shouldn't have been in the skip. And someone threw the hot welding remnants into the skip, and someone had been throwing the dinner stuff into the skip and it caught alight and the whole skip went. It's awareness again. Like,
awareness, procedures, get it in place. But I mean, there's a massive raise with bin wagons in there.
Yes,
they've gone. This fire they keep mentioning on the TV and stuff, saying that like people need to stop putting batteries in them because batteries now they're going through the roof. How many fires they're having again? Which is the batteries again, isn't it?
I know.
But mixed with arson.
And it takes ages to get your bins collected to start with.
Oh, I know.
Never mind the burn out.
After a fire, they won't take them.
True. And then like leading on from like the arson thing, it's again just us being aware, even in your own house, residential house, just being aware of them fire safety precautions you can still take in your house and things like that, and arson comes into that. But also just simple just to keep your house safe and take them fire precautions. Like I would suggest most people would have a fire blanket in a house.
It's so simple and so cheap. It's just no brainer, isn't it?
And what job they do is amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's people as well. You can wrap people in them, can't you?
Exactly.
So if that owl does come through your letterbox,
Wrap it
up, wrap it in the blanket.
As long as it's not the invisible cloak.
Oh yeah, there you go, guys. I've lost it and it's on fire. Yeah, that'd be brutal. Mark, where do you see technology changing the fire industry in the next few years? Well, it's a good question, Mark. I feel like, for me, what I think, this is just personal, I think what I think is going to happen is AI is going to make everyone a little bit smarter from what they know. And so basically they'll go, right, we know that we have to abide by this rules. So I think it should make people fall in line a bit better. So people they'll be aware of the risks more. So they'll be like, all right, we know we need to do a fire drill. We know we do a weekly checks, and we've got there might even be ways of setting up alerts on computers so people don't forget, like things like that. I think it's just a way of more awareness again.
I think you've absolutely bang on with the AI. I think AI will end up controlling all aspects.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Terminator.
It will be the Terminator. It's
going to be,
but you'll have a AI in a, I don't know, say a computer tower that's obviously heating up or whatever. I'm not saying that they're going to explode, but you could have an AI that automatically kicks in a fan or something to mitigate the risk of that overheating. Or you may in the future have portable heaters that are AI controlled. So you probably have it now where they respond to the fluctuation in the temperature, but it turns it off if it gets to a certain, or it detects a signal that there's an error in that machinery or anything like that. I think that's where it's going to go forward.
Yeah.
But I think as technology moves on, we're always keeping up with it. So the simple aspects of a TV, a monitor, your portable appliances, we bring the risk of them down through pat testing and things like that. So there'll probably be an advancement of how we do that test in line with whatever technology starts getting introduced or down the line.
Yeah. Well, you should have a robot that goes around your office the whole time, just checking everything. He's constant, just going around.
That's all he does.
That's it, yeah. It's his job.
What a job.
I know. We've been going on these new fire panel courses lately, and we've found obviously they do more what they can do behind the scenes and stuff, and it's crazy what you can link to it now. So you can remote into these fire alarm panels when they're in fire. You can see what the fire is. So I don't think you can silence it. I think if it's in fire you can go, but if it's in fault you can see what the fault is. But then it's I think where could then a machine do that? So they could be monitoring it constantly and going, oh, this is a false alarm. This is not a false alarm. Is that going to be good? Is that going to be bad? I think then you've got to have something else to check the machine then, haven't you? Where do you draw the line?
Yeah. I think it's that you're always going to have the teething problems, but then, like you say, it's putting your trust into something that you can't see.
Yeah.
And you see a maintenance person come out and do a job, and you're like, oh, you're seeing someone doing it, but if something
certificate, it's done.
Yeah.
They've signed the dotted line. Where if you're waiting for a robot to say, right, we've checked everything instantly.
Yes.
But if you've never had to wait, no fee, it's done.
That's it.
It's done, yeah.
And you're like,
oh,
is this?
I don't know. Is it on fire? No, it won't be a fire because the AI is gonna
pick it up.
Yeah. But then couldn't this be the whole sort of tinfoil hat thing where AI tricks you, saying that you're building safe, and then you're not. It's on fire, and then they win the human race.
Wow.
Yeah. Got deep.
Tell you what. That's a topic for another one.
She says, what is the worst management procedure that you've seen, and what could be done? I think one of the worst ones I've seen where basically they just did nothing. They just assumed that the fire brigade would get them all out, which I mean was one of the biggest things for years, wasn't it? Like, oh, we'll just don't have to evacuate any, especially in care homes.
Yeah.
It used to be, the fire brigade will get them out, which, when was that, 2 years ago that stopped, saying that they're not doing that no more. But simple things like fire drills. If you create a fire drill, you're going to see within 2 minutes if everyone's listening to what you've told them, or if people are in the toilets, or who's not getting out. It's just so simple, like a 2-minute test, isn't it?
When you answered the question, you said nothing. I've seen that a few times, and again, I think it's that people don't realize what a fire drill. We'll speak about the fire drills, what it's meant to do, why we do it, and it's just to instill a procedure with the staff, or the confidence with the staff to be able to
not panic
and exit that building in the time that they're meant to exit it. And that's what drills do. It's not necessarily for the people who are coming into the building, because in theory the employees should be guiding them out anyway.
Yeah. So it's like when you ask them, when you do risk assessments, you ask someone, oh, what do you do if there's a disabled member of public? Yeah. And they always go, oh, I'll get them out. And you're like, but you've got anything in place? If you don't know, and you're the owner or the manager, staff need to know. Otherwise the people will be stuck.
And simple things like the check, say a check of an extinguisher, visual check of extinguishers. I think maybe to a certain extent people just like, oh, well, I get them checked every year. But that's not to say
12 months, isn't it?
It's 12 months. Something you could have a extinguisher in a factory that's been knocked or something like that, and it's about spotting that before there's a time where you may have to use that.
Yeah.
And I think it is that it's these cases where nothing's put in place, but the things that can be done in a short space of time. But then once you've got it set up, it just carries itself, and you add to it, which is great.
Well, that's where you can implement AI, isn't it? When you've got it in place,
yes,
set up alerts, then you can make it better. Yeah, much better like that.
And there's the positive AI. So you could have an alert system on your phone. You could be the CEO of a company or the responsible person of a company, and there's the alert. Oh, right, checks. But then them checks, to a certain extent, could be activated by an AI.
Yeah.
Like your fire drill could be activated, but you'd still have people registered, doing the register and timing and things like that. But we just never know where the future's going to take us. But we'll be there.
Oh, we'll be there.
Yeah.
Got another question from Peter. What happens when the fire brigade turn up at your premises? So when they turn up at your premises, it depends on what they turn up for, really. So if they just turn up to do unregulated inspection, so they haven't given you notice, they've just turned up, the chances are, if they don't see anything horrendous, they're just gonna go, oh, you know what it is, right? Can you have your risk assessment? Come and see all your certificates. And it's normally, if they have a look around, nothing's too immediate danger, they'll normally say, right, you've got 6 months, 6 months, sometimes less, sometimes more, to get everything in place. It's when they see something horrendous and they're like, right, you we're gonna give you a prohibition notice, or which stops you from trading, or we're gonna say you've got 3 days to do this. It depends what they find, doesn't it?
And I mean the second one, like to stop the trade of business or close somewhere, has to be something significant.
It's normally sleeping, really, isn't it?
Yes.
The only time I've really seen it, mostly like restaurants where they're sleeping above and there's just no fire separation. Or the worst one is when they say they're not sleeping.
Yeah.
They go up and there's beds and you're like, no one's sleeping here. Someone's definitely sleeping here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's that thing with businesses as well, because a lot of FRAs of recent I've been doing, the fire brigade have either been coming out or they've been out. It's a lot I've seen, like, in a pattern.
It's getting more and more though, isn't it?
I think it's increasing, definitely. But at the end of the day, when someone walks around their business or their property, they'll have a good idea of what they should have been doing or what's not been implemented, or they can spot a big hole in the wall and things like that that they haven't done anything about. They're the people that panic. Whereas you've got the other people who sort of don't know what this visit's going to bring, but the business is absolutely fine. And I think it's just that being aware of, at the end of the day, the fire brigade are coming out and doing these inspections as much as a risk assessment, what we do, to help that business, to make that building safe. It's not the last thing really a fire brigade or wants to be doing is closing a business down. But to be honest, that falls back on the responsible person. They should have been implementing things and putting things in place long before that visit. So, yeah.
Well, we found it with like sort of building control, where people normally put plans in and they'll get worked up building control, but then you get the people who haven't, and then we'll come out and do a risk assessment and say, well, hold on, you can't have this many people in here because you've only got one exit, you've only got two, you need more. Where by putting things into building control, people go, oh, I can probably get around it. Like, how are they going to know? But it is really for the safety, isn't it?
Exactly, and that's what it boils back down to. And I think there's this preconception sometimes of people looking at the fire brigade's visit or an FRA inspector's visit as this panic. Everyone just goes into like a panic mode, but it's not meant to catch people out. It's there to point out things that you probably haven't seen yourself maybe, or point things out that need to be regulated and need to be done and implemented for the safety of everyone.
Yeah. Another one from Petrie. He said, what different types of fire extinguishers and what are they for? Well, how many is there?
Seven. Water.
Right, it's got water, which is for sort of your wood, paper, any cloth materials, basically household things. But CO2?
Yes, which is electrics. It can be used on fuels. It can be used on some material aspects, but the main use of a CO2 we always is
CO2. It's got the it doesn't hold the Class A rating.
No,
but it does generally.
But we always electric.
Yeah,
CO2.
Electric CO2. And there's dry powder, which obviously you get your ABC dry powder, which is for Class A, Class B, Class C, which is obviously talk about oil wood paint materials, your fuels, and then C is your gases. You get BC powders, but they're free obscene, which again will cover the BC risks. Then you get Class D, which is your metals. So again, these are going to be in warehouses. And then foam,
which is very similar to water, because obviously it contains water, but it has the ingredient of the foam that creates the foam, which can be used on your everyday materials like your woods and things like that, but also can be used on fuel sources and things like that because it creates the skin.
They're trying to do away with the fluoride foam, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that's getting banned. It keeps changing. They keep saying that they after 2030, they're saying that you can't put it in anywhere anymore. So then it'll just be a water. They do sell a fluorine-free foam, but it's more expensive, and 9 times out of 10, water will
do the job.
Yeah. But even better if you do a water mist, which comes out as a mist. It'll cover
a lot of category,
a lot of categories.
Yeah.
A, B, C, and is it ABC? Is it ABC?
Easy as 1, 2, 3.
I don't think it is. I think it's A, B. I don't think it's C.
What?
Definitely D. You water mist. It's F. I think it's A, B, and F. Hey, we'll stop that one.
Yeah.
We'll start again. Right. So we've got water mist as well, which is your Class A, Class B, and it does your flammable liquids on your cooking fats.
It's a really good extinguisher.
And it can be refilled with just
normal water. Yeah, that's right.
Then on the brand.
And then we have our wet chem.
Yep.
The best extinguisher you can have in a kitchen with a deep fat fryer issue. That works in the way of it forms. It doesn't dry the oil out, but it congeals it. So it smothers the fire or the progression of the fire, and it congeals it. And then obviously it can be cleaned up, but there's pros and cons to each extinguisher.
Like, if you're professional, you're going to know which one to put in. and why.
In every building, that extinguisher should have been recommended for the particular use of that room.
But there's also new extinguishers coming out, which are clean agent, which I'm not sure if they've been pushed through yet and they've got a classification, but they're safe on all electricals, which will be non-damageable either. And they're safe in the environment as well. And I think they've used to be like, similar to like the Halon, which has been banned. So they're coming out very soon, so we'll become.
I think when we had the question earlier on about where do we think technology and how it's going to affect things, I think we've got to think about how the environment's going to, our awareness of the environment and what we should and shouldn't be doing. Obviously, foam extinguishers is already talked about, and because of the environmental impact. Powders could be another one that might be looked at, that aspect, because I've heard stories with powders and things when they're set off, it's like a nuclear fallout with the powder when it comes down and settles. It does a fantastic job. It's an amazing extinguisher. But again, I think the environmental aspect is going to be...
If it goes off in the back of your van, that is a nightmare as well.
Have you had that happen?
I wouldn't say personally. Definitely someone else has. Where it was all secured, it was sealed up, it was wrapped up, but it used to have these really thin pins, and things move around. Even though it's pinned and sealed, the pins can bend, the prick can be pressed. Not now that they've changed the style a bit, but yeah, one of them goes off. It looks like your vehicle's on fire.
Yeah,
there's just that much powder coming out of the back, the windows, everything. It's intense.
But the efficient extinguisher,
rapid knockdown,
a great one to have in a car.
Yep,
like a portable one in the car. A gentleman told us a story. His wife, the air fryer caught fire in the house, but it wasn't the air fryer that caught fire. It was the hob was on, and she'd put the air fryer on the hob, and the whole thing went up. And the guy, quick thinking, ran out of the car and got the powder extinguisher. And he said, like, literally one press and that was it. It was gone. But they were tidying up the kitchen for a good soon.
Yeah. It's like easy full plaster. Yes. Wipe it once and you come back and it's back.
It's back, yeah.
It's like the devil's stain that'll never leave. So there's another question from Jolene. What is the major businesses that I fucked that up. What businesses have the most fire precautions or need the most? So I would say probably restaurants and hotels. We're seeing a lot more for the requirements of suppression systems.
Yeah.
Insurers are saying we're not going to insure you unless you've got one. And also I think the open plan sort of layout of restaurants is making the essentialness, because it's an immediate effect of rapid knockdown from a suppression system which contains the fire within the kitchen hood, which stops it spreading. So if you've got an open pan restaurant and the fryer is on, and if the fire could come through and spread all the way through a restaurant, obviously the suppression system is going to stop that.
And again, I think it's about people being aware that aesthetically it might look great having
yeah. That's grand. That's grand.
It was the suppression system. That's how they work. I think aesthetically a lot of restaurants want this open plan look where you can see into the kitchen, but they don't take into consideration that you've risked the compartmentation of your room because you've opened that up, and then the suppression system has to come into play. Or it has to be looked at. But I would greatly advise, but kitchens are, it's because of what they operate with. It's the materials they operate with. We've just discussed wet chemical extinguishers. Are a fantastic extinguisher. Like I say, with
your favorite one.
It's one of my favorites. Yes, water's a close second. I do like a foam, but yeah, wet chem, they're the best.
They're the best.
Thank you, guys.
Your slogan on that one, don't we?
Moving on from what was discussing commercial kitchens mainly, I think as well it's just good to know what sort of simple measures you can have in place to stay safe at home and have fire prevention in your home as well.
More like, what if I'm at home now and I need to, I'm watching this and I'm like, I want to have a little look around and go, what are the main things I should look for?
I think check what's in your boiler cupboards, where were your boilers stored. Some boilers obviously are freestanding on a wall in the kitchen, fair enough. But then you have these ones that are in the cupboard, like a boiler cupboard or something like that, where I can guarantee there's a lot of other items stored in that cupboard.
New roll in it.
The toilet roll, it's the ideal clothes dry in a cupboard.
Yeah.
But you're putting something in there that doesn't really need to be in there. At home, we're not tied by needing pat testing. I'm not saying people should have pat testing, but it's just being aware of that kettle that you've had for 40 years or whatever, that it could be coming towards the end of its lifetime or something. Like it's just not being paranoid in your own home, but just being aware of things that are in your home that could, like such as the storage of a, say you've got an e-bike or an e-scooter or something like that, the storing of that battery.
Yeah.
You wouldn't store it in your shed because it wouldn't be convenient, but you're going to be storing a potential hazard in your house. It's just being aware of the things that you could do to mitigate the chance of something happening with that. Smoke detectors are a good thing to have in a home. Not every home needs them because of the size of a home, the amount of people that live in the home. But if you had the opportunity, I know the fire brigade do where they'll come out and do a survey and things like that and see if it's recommended or it would help the home be safe with that.
You've seen it where there was a boiler, wasn't there? There was a boiler, an electric box behind a shower in a house.
Yes. The main electric box, switch box was in the bathroom, in the cupboard with the boiler, and you weren't able to shut its cover because the boiler must have been put in after the electric box was in and the flap had opened and the boiler had been pushed in so the flap couldn't shut.
Oh God.
I mean, that's just had the ultimate combination. Bathroom, water, couldn't cover the box. So what would you recommend as any measures in the home?
Yeah, weird one, which is not really fire safety, just safety in general, but a carbon monoxide detector.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to this girl who she rung us and she said, "Oh, could I come on and put one up straight away?" So I said, "Yep, no problem." Came out and I said, "Oh, what was the reason behind it? Did you not get picked this up on your gas check, anything like that?" And she said, "My dog was being really tired and it wasn't going for walks." And she said I would come in and from work and I'd be really tired, so I stopped going to the gym and I started going to bed. And she said she started googling side effects and it was carbon monoxide leak.
Wow.
I had a carbon monoxide leak in my boiler. It was making that dog so tired and sleepy, not wanting to go out, and her not wanting to do anything, feeling tired all the time. And then soon she was out of the house, she was fine.
That was it.
So it's just scary. But for these alarms, like 20 quid.
I know.
We think like battery powered, last 10 years, screw it up, it's good to go.
And if you've got an engineer coming out every year to do your boiler maintenance,
Yep.
I could guarantee if they're worth the metal, they always ask you if you've got.
It's part of the check.
Yeah, there you go.
They should have it. Like.
So there are them things. We mentioned the fire blanket earlier on.
Yeah.
It's a little item that could possibly stop a big thing.
Again, there's buttons to buy.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Louis asked this question not too long ago, didn't he? I seen that.
I think so, yes.
About sprinklers and suppression systems or mist systems in residential homes, because I know in Scotland they started putting them in when the building was over a certain height. But what we found the other day, as I was doing a survey for a fire alarm, and it was a 7-story building, 1 staircase, and it had 7 flats, 1 on each floor, and they had to have a mist system in each of the lobbies. So that in the event of a fire, this mist would obviously spurt out, comes off the water mains, and would suppress any fire within that. They also had to put a smoke shaft in the building. They had to put a dry riser in the building. They had to put a fire alarm in every part of the building. And there was something else I remember that was weird. where they had to go. Basically, this building was just because it was the single staircase. It hit all the criteria.
Yeah.
It was like, right, it's over 6 stories. It needs a dry riser. It needs a suppression system and the mist system in every of the lobbies. It needs a smoke shaft. AOV, that was the other thing. Yeah, because it's one shaft, it needs an automatic open vent. It was just crazy. But they are coming more and more and more because they are obviously rapid knockdown again with the mist.
And that staircase obviously led to just one exit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had to put everything in place you possibly can to reduce the risk because of the one exit. The one exit is just played totally into the hands of a major hazard in a sense.
Yeah. If that exit's blocked, where do you go?
That's it. But everything else is in place. That's a lot, that.
It was a lot, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a listed building as well.
Wow. So that brings in a lot of things, doesn't it, the listing?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it limits what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got to buy certain stuff to put the building a certain way. But yeah, it was a lot. So he thought he was just renovating this block of flats and it wouldn't cost too much. And then now we're spending hundreds of thousands and getting all these systems put in, which is just crazy.
But it'll be the safest staircase
It will
in the country when it's all in place.
Yeah, that's true. It's like going back to what you said about vapes. They're lithium battery.
Yeah.
People do them. They don't treat them like cigarettes. They're everywhere. Planes. You can see it, planes, trains, automobiles. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All over. People never stop, do they? It's just a constant thing. Indoors, outdoors. Even though people set designated areas, you can always have a sneaky one somewhere. It seems to be everywhere, isn't it?
And with them, the thing is, you could have the safest room in the world, but as soon as that comes into that room, that makes that room, well, no, I'm not saying it's good. Like,
is it gas? Poison?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
But
gas.
A bit like a portable heater. You put a portable heater in a room that's never had a portable heater in it.
Yeah, reducing the risk on you.
And that's what you're doing with the vapes. And I think because there's such a casual thing and how they're used, and because they've just become part of a lot of people's everyday lives as much as a mobile phone, we just use them like that. Like them, say, laid on the side of a bedside cabinet, or they're just with us, they're next to us all the time. And I think, again, it's just the risk factor from them. It might never happen, but I think there's things that we can put into place. Like, say, garages with mobile phones. You shouldn't use your mobile phone in a garage or have it like nearby in a sense. And I think that's not necessarily because the fact that the mobile phone may do something in that moment. It's just that garages just wouldn't want to take that risk. So why have it? Just say, no, we're not.
Well, it's to say, there's also loads of cheap ones out there, isn't there?
That's the thing.
From dodgy places, dodgy online shops and stuff where they're not going to be, it's checked, they might have battery leakage, they might have anything really. And obviously the more, there's the massive market at the moment, aren't there? So there's more and more people going to get these knockoffs.
And you're absolutely spot on with the damage aspect, because they're carried in pockets, they're carried in bags. It could just take that one slight knock and you might not even notice it.
2 legs on fire.
Yeah. And that's it. It smells of cherry.
Yep. Okay. Well, thanks for watching us, guys. Obviously we're going to be here next month as well. If you want any more information, drop us a comment, like us, subscribe. We're on obviously Instagram, podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you can find either Safety Sparks or Crusader Fire.
Thank you very much. Thank you.